I thought I finally found the one. I gave her my name, my money, my heart, but the night I signed the papers, I realized I wasn't her only husband. I was just her foreign one. The first time I saw Lac, I was standing in that cramped hotel lobby in Bangkok, sweating through my polo shirt and feeling every one of my 56 years. The air conditioning barely worked, and I'd been traveling for 18 hours straight from Ohio. "Welcome to Royal Garden Hotel," she said, her English careful but warm. "How may I help you today?" Her smile wasn't the practiced hospitality smile I'd gotten used to. This one reached her eyes. "I need to check in, Clinton Reeves." She typed something into her computer, then looked up at me again. I wasn't planning on telling this story tonight, but earlier this week, I received an email from a longtime viewer of the channel. He told me he'd been quietly following for months, listening to these confessions without ever commenting until now. He said something inside him finally broke, and he needed to share his own story. Reading his words, I felt a wave of emotions I wasn't ready for. At first, there was shock, that uncanny recognition when you realize another man has lived a version of your life. Then came a dull ache in my chest. Sadness for him, sadness for me, sadness for all the ways love can twist itself into betrayal. And finally there was gratitude, because his courage to speak up reminded me that these stories matter, even when they tear me open to tell. That email is why I pressed record tonight. And before I go on, I want to say thank you. To you, yes, you watching this right now. Please, leave me a comment and let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. I read every one of them, and it means more than you know. And for those of you who keep coming back, video after video, you're the reason I can keep sharing my truth. This is my super thank you moment for you. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and join the conversation below. Because tonight, I need to tell you everything. Let me take you back to where it all started. First time in Thailand, Mr. Clinton? I nodded, trying not to stare at how graceful her hands were as she prepared my keycard. Yes, first time. She leaned forward slightly, conspiratorial. You will love it here. Thailand is very beautiful country. Many good food, good people. I laughed despite my exhaustion. I hope so. I could use some good people in my life. Something flickered across her face then, a softness I hadn't expected. Everyone need good people, she said quietly. When she handed me the room key, our fingers brushed for just a moment. If you need anything, just call front desk. I am here until midnight. I wanted to ask her name, but I was too tired, too overwhelmed by the heat and the foreign sounds echoing through the lobby. Instead, I just said thank you and headed for the elevator. But I kept thinking about that smile as I unpacked my suitcase in room 314. The next morning, I came downstairs for breakfast, feeling more human. She was there again, same spot behind the reception desk, but this time she was wearing a different blouse, pale blue, that made her skin look luminous. "Good morning, Mr. Clinton," she said before I even approached the desk. "You sleep well?" I was surprised she remembered my name. Better than I expected, actually. The bed was comfortable. She smiled that real smile again. "I am happy to hear. You go for breakfast now? Restaurant is very good. They have American food too, if Thai food too spicy for you." I found myself grinning. "I think I can handle a little spice." She laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "Oh, you are brave, man. Most American guest. They ask for no spicy, no spicy." We talked for maybe 5 minutes. Nothing deep, just small talk about the weather and the city. But when she suggested I try the tom yum soup, the way she said it, like she genuinely wanted me to experience something wonderful, it made my chest tight in a way I hadn't felt in years. "What's your name?" I asked as I was leaving for the restaurant. "Cyrillac," she said, "but my friend call me Lac." I repeated it quietly, trying to get the pronunciation right. She giggled. "Very good, Mr. Clinton. You have good ear for Thai name." As I walked toward the restaurant, I caught myself thinking about her laugh, wondering if she'd still be there when I came back from breakfast. 3 days later, Lac asked if I wanted to see the real Bangkok, not just the tourist areas. "I know someplace very beautiful," she said during one of our increasingly long conversations at the reception desk. "Temple, market, place where local people go. If you want, I can show you on my day off." My heart hammered against my ribs. "You'd want to spend your free time with an old American tourist." She tilted her head, studying me with those dark eyes. "You are not so old, Mr. Clinton. And you are not like other tourists. You listen when I talk. You ask questions about my life, not just complain about weather or food. I felt something loosening in my chest, a knot I'd carried for years since the divorce. I'd love to see Bangkok through your eyes. That Saturday, she met me in the lobby wearing a simple sundress and sandals, looking younger than her 28 years. We took a taxi to Wat Pho Temple first, and as we walked through the complex, she explained the history, the meaning of the Golden Buddha, the significance of the murals. Buddhism teaches us about suffering, she said as we sat in the shade of an ancient tree. Life is suffering, but we can find peace if we let go of attachment. I watched her face as she spoke, the way her expression grew thoughtful, almost sad. Do you believe that? I asked. She was quiet for a long moment. Sometimes I think attachment is what makes life worth living, even if it brings pain. We stared at each other then, and I felt something shifting between us, something deeper than attraction. What about you, Clinton? What bring you to Thailand? I told her about the divorce, about feeling like my life had become nothing but work and disappointment. I guess I came here looking for peace too. She reached over and squeezed my hand. Maybe we both find what we're looking for. Her skin was soft and warm, and I didn't want her to let go. Over the next few weeks, our friendship deepened into something more intimate. Lack would text me good morning messages, ask how I slept, share photos of street food she thought I should try. You know, Clinton, she said one evening as we walked along the Chao Phraya River, I get tired of Thai men my age. They only want to play, never want to be serious about relationship. I felt a flutter of hope mixed with disbelief. What do you mean by serious? She stopped walking and turned to face me. I want man who will love me with honest heart, who will be faithful, who will take care of family. Thai man, they think I too old now, or they just want to have fun. But you have experience. You know what real love is. I thought about my ex-wife, about the years of growing apart, the fights about money and attention and all the small cruelties that killed our marriage slowly. I'm not sure I was very good at real love before, I admitted. Lack stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume, something light and floral. But you want to learn, yes? You want to try again? When I nodded, she stood on her tiptoes and kissed me softly. Then we learned together. That night, I lay awake in my hotel room, my lips still tingling from her kiss, wondering if this was really happening. A beautiful woman 28 years younger than me, talking about learning love together. I felt like I was 25 again, like life was full of possibilities I'd forgotten existed. A month into our relationship, Lack started sharing more about her family situation. My parents, they live in a small village in northeast Thailand, she explained over dinner at a quiet restaurant near my hotel. Very poor area. My father's sick, need medicine. My mother tried to take care of farm, but she getting old. She looked down at her hands, and I saw tears forming in her eyes. I send money home every month, but is not enough. Sometimes I don't eat lunch so I can send more. My heart broke for her. Here was this incredible woman, working at a hotel reception desk, sacrificing her own needs for her family. How much do they need? I asked. She shook her head quickly. No, Clinton. I don't tell you this to ask for money. I just want you to understand my life. But I was already reaching for my wallet. Lack, if I can help your family, I want to. She stared at me, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. You would do that? For people you never meet? I took her hands across the table. I'd do it for you. When I handed her $500 in cash, she started crying harder. Clinton, this is too much. I cannot accept. But I insisted, and finally she took the money, clutching it like it was the most precious thing in the world. My family will pray for you every day, she whispered. You have such good heart. That night, she came back to my hotel room for the first time. As we made love, she kept whispering thank you against my neck, and I felt like I was finally doing something meaningful with my life, finally being the man I'd always wanted to be. But not everyone was happy about my relationship with Lack. At Murphy's pub, where I'd started hanging out with other expats, the reactions ranged from skeptical to outright hostile. Listen, mate, said Brian, a British guy who'd been living in Bangkok for 5 years. I'm not trying to rain on your parade, but you need to be careful. These girls, they're professionals at this game. I bristled. What's that supposed to mean? Dave, an American about my age, leaned forward. He means they've got boyfriends back home, sometimes husbands. They tell you exactly what you want to hear while they're bleeding you dry. I shook my head. Lack isn't like that. She's different. Brian and Dave exchanged a look that made my stomach clench. They're all different, mate, Brian said quietly, until they're not. I left the bar that night feeling angry and defensive, but also with a tiny seed of doubt planted in my chest. When I got back to my hotel, Lack was waiting in the lobby, still in her work uniform. "How was your evening with friends?" she asked as we rode the elevator up to my room. "Fine," I said, not wanting to repeat their warnings. She studied my face. "They say something about me, don't they? About us?" I was startled by how perceptive she was. "Some of them think I should be more careful." She nodded sadly. "They think I am bar girl, or I want your money only." I started to protest, but she held up her hand. "Is okay, Clinton. Many Farang men, they come to Thailand and meet wrong kind of woman, so they think all Thai women same." She took my hands in hers. "But you know me. You see my heart. Don't listen to them, okay? Trust only what you see with your own eyes." Looking into her sincere face, I felt my doubts melting away. She was right. I knew her heart. I could see it in the way she cared for her family, the way she worried about her sick father, the way she made me feel like I mattered. 6 months after we met, I knew I wanted to marry Lack. I'd been sending money to her family regularly, and each time she accepted it with such gratitude, such genuine emotion, that I felt more certain I'd found someone special. "Lack," I said one evening as we walked through Lumpini Park, "I want to ask you something important." She looked up at me expectantly, and I felt my palms sweating despite the evening breeze. "I know we haven't been together that long, but I feel like I've been waiting my whole life to meet you." I stopped walking and took both her hands in mine. "Will you marry me?" For a moment, her face went completely blank, and panic shot through me. Had I misread everything? Then, she started crying. Not the gentle tears I'd seen before, but deep, shaking sobs. "Clinton," she managed to say between tears, "you want to marry me? Really?" I pulled her against my chest. "More than anything in the world." She cried harder then, and people walking past started staring, but I didn't care. "Yes," she whispered into my shirt. "Yes, I will marry you. I will be best wife for you, I promise." As I held her there in the park, surrounded by the sounds of Bangkok traffic and evening vendors, I felt like I was finally home. This was what I'd come to Thailand looking for, this feeling of being needed, of being chosen by someone who could have anyone she wanted. The wedding ceremony was small but beautiful, held at a temple recommended by Lack's cousin. I didn't understand most of what the monk said, but Lack translated the important parts. "He say we are joined now in this life and next life," she whispered as we knelt before the altar. "He say marriage is sacred promise to help each other find happiness." When it came time for my vows, I looked into her eyes and spoke from my heart. "Lack, I promise to love you and protect you for the rest of my life. I promise to take care of your family like they're my own family. I promise to never hurt you the way I've been hurt." She squeezed my hands tighter. "Clinton, I promise to be faithful wife, to honor you and respect you. I promise my heart belong only to you now." After the ceremony, her relatives embraced me one by one, calling me Phi, which she explained meant older brother. "They accept you as family now," she said, glowing with happiness. This is most important thing in Thai culture. That night, in our hotel room, now as husband and wife, she curled up against me and whispered, "Now we are one person, Clinton. What hurt you hurt me. What make you happy, make me happy." I believed every word. I believed we would grow old together, that I would finally have the peaceful, loving life I'd dreamed of during those lonely years after my divorce. But within just a few weeks of our marriage, things started to change in ways I couldn't quite define at first. Lack seemed more distracted, constantly checking her phone and stepping away to take calls in rapid Thai that I couldn't follow. "Everything okay?" I'd ask when she came back from these conversations, and she'd always smile and say, "Just family business, don't worry." But I was starting to worry. The calls came at odd hours, sometimes late at night, and afterward she'd seem upset, though she tried to hide it. When I suggested we could visit her family together, she'd make excuses. Not good time now, Clinton. Maybe next month. I also noticed money disappearing from our joint account in larger amounts than usual. When I asked about it, she'd say it was for her father's medicine or repairs to her family's house. Farming is very difficult this year, she explained. My family need extra help. I wanted to believe her, but something felt different. The grateful tears were gone. Now when I gave her money, she'd just nod and say thank you, like it was expected. I started having conversations with myself in the mirror. She married you. I'd remind my reflection. She chose you. Stop being paranoid. But late at night, when she thought I was sleeping, I'd catch her staring at her phone with an expression I couldn't read, something between sadness and guilt. Everything unraveled on a Tuesday night in November. Lack had been gone for 3 days, visiting her family again, and I was alone in our apartment watching Thai television. I didn't understand when someone knocked on the door. I opened it to find a Thai man about Lak's age, thin and weathered, wearing work clothes and holding a motorcycle helmet. You Clinton? He asked in broken English. When I nodded, his face hardened. I am Niran. Where is Lak? My stomach dropped. She's visiting family. Who are you? He said something in Thai that I didn't understand, then switched back to English. She is my wife. She cannot be your wife too. The words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at him, sure I'd misunderstood. What did you say? He pulled out his phone and showed me photos, him and Lak at what was clearly a wedding ceremony, but not the one I remembered. This was different, older, more traditional. In the photos, they looked young and happy together. We married 5 years ago, he said quietly. She tell me she work in Bangkok to send money home. She no tell me about Farang husband. I felt the world tilting around me. That's not possible. She married me 6 months ago. We had a ceremony. Niran's expression shifted from anger to something like pity. She marry you too? For visa? For money? I couldn't speak. I just stood there in my doorway, staring at this stranger who was telling me my entire new life was built on lies. Where is she now? He asked again. I don't know, I whispered. She said she was visiting family. He nodded grimly. She visiting family. She visiting me and our children. Children. The word landed like another punch. I'd been sending money to support her sick parents, never knowing it was also supporting her real husband and their kids. When Lak returned 2 days later, I was sitting in our living room in the dark. She flipped on the lights and saw me waiting. Clinton, why you sitting in dark? She looked tired, maybe a little nervous, but she put on her usual smile. I miss you so much. My family send their love. I stared at her for a long moment, memorizing her face, trying to reconcile the woman I thought I loved with what I now knew to be true. Niran came to see me, I said quietly. Her smile disappeared instantly. The color drained from her face, and she sank into the chair across from me. Clinton, I can explain. But I held up my hand. Are you married to him? She closed her eyes. Yes. The simple word hung in the air between us. Do you have children with him? 2 children, she whispered. Boy and girl. I felt something breaking inside my chest. Not just my heart, but something deeper. Some fundamental trust in my own judgment. So, when you married me, you were already married to someone else. She opened her eyes, and there were tears there, but they looked different now. Not the grateful tears I remembered, but something desperate. Clinton, please understand. I love you both. In different way, but I love you. I shook my head. You can't love us both, Lak. That's not how love works. She leaned forward, reaching for my hands, but I pulled them away. In Thailand is different. Some women, they have husband in village and husband in city, is not unusual. I stood up, feeling older than I had in months. Maybe it's not unusual for you, but it is for me. I thought I was your only husband. I thought we were building a life together. She started crying harder. We can still have life together. Niran, he understand. He know I need to work, need to take care of family. You and me. We can still be happy. But I was already shaking my head. No, Lak, we can't. Because I'm not the kind of man who can share his wife with another man and their children. I looked at her sitting there crying, and for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to comfort her. Instead, I felt empty, hollowed out, like I'd been carrying a beautiful vase that turned out to be made of paper. The days after the truth came out passed in a blur of humiliation and self-recrimination. I moved back to my hotel room, the same one where I'd first met Lack, and spent my time staring at the ceiling or walking aimlessly through Bangkok streets. She called constantly at first. "Clinton, please, we can fix this. I explain everything." But I stopped answering. Then came the text messages. "I need money for children's school fees. My father very sick, need operation. Please, Clinton, you still my husband in my heart." Each message felt like salt in an open wound, not because of what she was asking for, but because part of me still wanted to send the money. Part of me still loved the woman I thought she was. At Murphy's pub, Brian and Dave were kind enough not to say "I told you so," but I could see it in their eyes. "It happens to the best of us, mate," Brian said quietly over his beer. "The heart wants what it wants." Other expats shared their own stories, variations on the same theme. Thai girlfriends with secret husbands, Filipino wives with hidden families, Vietnamese partners who disappeared with every penny. "The thing is," said Tom, a retired teacher from California, "they're not evil. They're just trying to survive in a system where foreign money can change everything for their families." I knew he was trying to make me feel better, but it didn't help. Evil or not, Lack had looked me in the eyes and lied to me every day for 8 months. She'd let me believe I was special, chosen, loved in a way I'd never been loved before. 3 months later, I made the decision to leave Thailand. Not in anger, not as some dramatic gesture, just because staying felt impossible. Every corner of Bangkok reminded me of her laugh, her smile, the way she'd squeeze my hand when we walked through the markets. I was 57 now, no longer the hopeful romantic who'd arrived the year before looking for a second chance at love. "You going back to America?" asked the taxi driver in his careful English as we drove to the airport. "Yes," I said, watching the city scroll past my window one last time. "Going home." But the truth was, I didn't know where home was anymore. Ohio felt cold and empty, full of memories of my failed first marriage. Thailand had become poisoned by betrayal and broken promises. Maybe home wasn't a place at all. Maybe it was something I'd have to rebuild inside myself, piece by careful piece. At the airport, I sat in the departure lounge thinking about what I'd tell people when they asked about my year in Thailand. The simple version. I met someone, it didn't work out, I came home. The complicated version. I fell in love with a woman who was already married, sent money to support a family I didn't know existed, and discovered that love isn't always enough to bridge the gap between what we want to believe and what's actually true. As my plane lifted off the runway, Bangkok shrinking below me into a grid of lights, I closed my eyes and tried to imagine what came next. I wasn't the same man who'd arrived here looking for peace and love. That man had been naive, desperate, willing to ignore red flags because he wanted so badly to believe in second chances. The man leaving was quieter, sadder, but maybe wiser. Maybe 57 wasn't too late to learn that some lessons only come through heartbreak, and some kinds of strength only develop after you've discovered how fragile your assumptions really were. I don't hate Lack. That might surprise people who hear this story, but it's true. I understand now that she was trying to take care of her family the only way she knew how, in a world where foreign money could mean the difference between her children having an education or working in rice fields for the rest of their lives. What I hate is my own willingness to be deceived, my desperate need to believe that someone like her could genuinely love someone like me. I see now that love wasn't really what we had. We had need dressed up as love, desperation disguised as romance. She needed financial security, and I needed to feel valued, desired, important to someone. We gave each other what we needed for a while, but it was built on lies that made it unsustainable. The saddest part isn't that she betrayed me. The saddest part is that I betrayed myself, ignoring every instinct that told me something wasn't right because I wanted so desperately for it to be real. I'm back in Ohio now, living in a small apartment, working part-time at a hardware store, trying to figure out what the rest of my life looks like. I don't blame Thailand, and I don't blame all Thai women for the actions of one. What happened to me happens to people everywhere, in every culture, when loneliness makes us vulnerable to others who are skilled at telling us exactly what we want to hear. Sometimes late at night, I wonder if Lack ever thinks about me, if she remembers the man who loved her completely, even if briefly. But mostly, I try not to wonder. I try to focus on small pleasures: morning coffee, good books, conversations with my neighbor's dog. I'm learning to be alone without being lonely, to find peace that doesn't depend on someone else's validation. It's harder than I expected, but it's real in a way that my marriage never was. And maybe that's worth something. Maybe at 57, learning to love yourself honestly is better than being loved dishonestly by someone else. Maybe this whole painful experience was just another step toward becoming the man I was always meant to be, someone strong enough to face the truth, even when it breaks his heart.